Hey, so this topic's interesting, and I want you to open your minds because, as we all know, the news and the media can quite often be a vehicle for programming, especially in regards to politics. That being said, I particularly like fact checking. And I like to do my own fact checking because just because it's on TV doesn't mean it is necessarily true. So there's lots of different resources out there that you can check and double check things. People in general, though, will listen to and believe anything that supports their political party or their belief system, which is dangerous. It's dangerous because in the end, there's truth. There's that old saying, there's two sides to every coin. Well, no, there's not. There's three sides to a coin because there's that thin line of truth along the edge of the coin. And we all need to be more focused on the truth more than ever now because we're living in times that lying publicly and blatantly has become not only accepted, but ignored. And when we accept and encourage such behaviors, that is permissive. We're giving permission for more of that to become normalized. And then we live in a very dangerous and confusing world. That being said, don't watch the news in the morning. I broke myself from the habit for the longest time. But this morning, for some reason, I'm like, la, 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 coffee in my hand. I turn on the news and I'm just kind of going through to try to find a topic that's interesting to me. And I find this supposed news coverage of the latest shooting in Kentucky at the bank. And I could tell the news reporter was very Tucker Carlson-esque, but I was still like, okay, let me listen to this because I listen to all sides. And the first thing that this man says is he's reading about the victims, horrific always. And he's saying, people are saying no more thoughts and prayers. Well, I want to say more thoughts and prayers. We want thoughts and prayers. Well, come on. That's obvious, isn't it? I mean, let's state the obvious. But when people are saying no more thoughts and prayers, it's because we're having extreme gun violence in this country almost daily now. And our children are blatantly being murdered. And for the majority of this country, it's still more important for us to protect our individual rights versus addressing a serious issue. And that being said, I'm not putting the blame on the guns, but where is the conversation past the fact that I want my guns? Past me, where are the conversations and the critical thinking in regards to a solution? So there, I'm not putting information in your head. I'm not telling you what to do, but there's a problem. And the solution is not us all being individually armed, obviously, because if that was enough, we wouldn't have this pandemic of violence in this country. Back to mental health, lack of resources, and that we have accepted violence as a form of entertainment in almost every genre of entertainment that we absorb, and this starts at infancy. So, that being said, I'm going to go back to the Tucker Carlson wannabe, and I hope I'm saying his name right. So then after he says, we want more thoughts and prayers, basically taking away the mental process or the idea of people being sick of Americans not taking any action on this issue, he focuses on the shooter. So he focuses on the shooter's social media account, and he says his pronouns are he, him. Okay, well, yes, it's a male, and those would be his pronouns. And then he says something like, and though we haven't confirmed it, that the social media site may have demanded to pick a pronoun, this gender identity confusion seems to be a reoccurring theme in this violence. Okay, first of all, if you're an actual news source, if you're an actual valid form of journalism, you would have the time and you would have the team to simply go to that website and see, do I have a choice to pick a gender or do I not have a choice to pick a gender? Before you point this non-issue in a very odd way. Secondly, and I hope this is making sense. Secondly, do you see what he's doing? We have this subculture, this group of people, and yes, it's difficult for me to understand, pushing almost 60, the gender identification thing, but it's still a group of, it's a subculture, it's a group, it's part of of American society that is already under attack because of our misunderstanding generationally of this new social phenomenon. But the fact is, there's been one person who they have not verified yet had gender confusion. And this man, obviously, if he's a man and he's identifying as he, him, he doesn't have any confusion about his gender. This so-called journalist was specifically trying to manipulate us to make us fear or hate or mistrust people who do not choose gender norms. And I'm not going to use that word norm as in they're abnormal if they don't choose male or female, but that's what people are really thinking. So let's just say it like that. So I am seeing this man, this journalist, and I'm going to say that in like, using his platform to blatantly make more hate in this country, to blatantly stop any kind of progress in regards to actually focusing on the issue, which the issue was a bunch of more people dead from gun violence, and instead attacking the people who are concerned about it, who should be concerned about it, because we all should be concerned about it, and then manipulating the entire story to refocus people who don't really care to know the truth and turn them into a group or a force of ignorance and hate. And this must stop. And why must it stop? Well, it gets no results. It is not making our country great again. Look around. And it's based in lies, and it's based in blatant misinformation. Not like, oops, but like their whole methodology, from not checking that website before he made such statements to his inaccurate focus, because he should be able to look at statistics if he's a professional journalist and see, is this actually a thing that people who have gender identity issues are killing everybody? And I think if you just look at the statistics, which you can with many of these things, you will find the opposite fact from what this man was trying to spin. So please, if you tend to lean conservative, right-wing, don't be manipulated. There's right, there's wrong, there's truth. And today, it's not very difficult to find the truth if you put a lot of energy into it. And before you prescribe to a certain belief, make sure that you're not being lazy and just allowing yourself to be manipulated to support ideas and political parties just because that's what you're familiar with, because that's dangerous. It's very, very dangerous to be controlled that way. It's a form of mind control. And the only people that are easily misled are people who feel weak in their own world and lack power in their own world. And it's so much easier to take power through delusions than it is to see the facts for what they are and make the changes we need to make improvements. And I'm not saying that, of course, this country needs change. All countries need change, and we need consistent change. But when people say we need change, what is this change? Because often the change I see that people want is going back to old systems. And obviously, if those old systems worked so great for all Americans, we wouldn't have the issues that we do today. So when we're talking about change, you can't just think of self. You have to think of the greater good, because everyone is paying the majority of people in America are paying their dues. The majority of people in America are forced to pay taxes. The majority of people in America have children. And so it's not just about you and I and our individual needs and beliefs. And I think I'm going to leave it at that. And I hope that makes sense. And I hope this has value to you. And I hope that I haven't offended anyone, because that's not my purpose, to offend people. It's to try to get you to understand the reality of manipulation and how to avoid being sucked into this dumb culture. It's a dumb culture. It's a culture where there are truths, and yet people are turning away from facts and truths just to support this weird reality. And it's a non-reality. Okay, thanks. Bye.